Let's discuss Conor McGregor. This is another lecture. Let's begin with the foundations. I am Alexei, and today we shall examine a career that in this context combines elite sport with unusually visible commerce and controversy.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. I guess I will ask the simple questions and try to keep our timeline honest.
To frame our discussion, a basic definition. Conor Anthony McGregor is an Irish professional mixed martial artist, born in Dublin in July 1988, and a former professional boxer. He rose from local shows to become the first UFC athlete to hold two titles simultaneously, featherweight and lightweight, while also building high-profile ventures in whiskey, stout, and combat sports promotion, including co-ownership of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship.
So, maybe think of it like this. Two careers running in parallel, right? One is fighting and the other is business. And the feedback loop is that each amplifies the other.
Precisely, technically we call him a dual division champion, first in Cage Warriors and then, historically, in the UFC in 2016. Stylistically, a southpaw counter-striker with a famed pullback left hand. Commercially, arguably the most significant pay-per-view draw in MMA history, with UFC 229 reaching about 2.4 million buys. And in crossover boxing, the Mayweather event exceeding about 5.3 million across the US and UK. In simpler terms, performance plus persona created extraordinary demand.
And, just to be clear, dual division in the UFC meant he held featherweight and lightweight at the same time after beating Eddie Alvarez in November 2016, right?
Yes, that is to say, simultaneous tenure as champion in two weight classes was an unprecedented achievement in that promotion at the time. Moving forward, why does this matter? We observed that his events reset revenue expectations for MMA. The UFC's highest-selling pay-per-views are McGregor headliners. Coupled with Forbes rankings, fourth in 2018 with $99 million and first in 2021 with $180 million. He became a case study in athlete monetization and negotiating leverage across sports media ecosystems.
And historically, a lot of people were skeptical about the 2017 Mayweather crossover. Like, could an MMA striker compete in elite boxing? Yet the skepticism became part of the marketing gravity, and the financial result was enormous anyway.
A few anchor facts. In December 2015, he knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, the fastest finish in a UFC title fight. He later became the first UFC athlete with knockout wins at featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight. Commercially, UFC 229 with Khabib Nurmagomedov remains the pay-per-view benchmark in MMA. The Mayweather bout generated an estimated $130 million for McGregor personally.
Can we maybe now look at his early path? Amateur debut in 2007 with a first-round TKO, then pro in 2008, training at SBG Dublin under John Kavanagh, then that 8-fight streak in 2011 to 2012, with dual Cage Warriors titles that drew UFC interest.
Indeed, Dana White's 2013 Dublin visit led to a swift contract. The UFC debut in April 2013 produced a first-round KO of Marcus Brimage. An ACL injury followed the Holloway fight. Then the 2014 Dublin return with a TKO over Diego Brandao. Victories over Dustin Poirier and Dennis Siver escalated promotion into the Aldo World Tour. Aldo withdrew, Chad Mendes stepped in, and McGregor won the interim belt at UFC 189. 5 months later, the Aldo unification ended in 13 seconds. 2016 brought the Diaz rivalry, one loss and one razor-close decision win. followed by the masterclass over Eddie Alvarez to secure simultaneous lightweight gold. Next, the 2017 crossover bout with Mayweather ended in a 10th round TKO. 2018 culminated in the Khabib fight and a post-fight melee with sanctions. In 2020, he stopped Donald Cerrone at welterweight. In 2021, two bouts with Dustin Poirier, one a TKO loss, and one a doctor's stoppage after a tibia fracture. In 2024, a scheduled Chandler fight fell through due to a broken toe. An 18-month whereabouts suspension was announced in October 2025. In 2026, he returned versus Max Holloway and suffered a knee injury TKO at 109 of round 1. As a brief personal note, I find his counter-striking geometry instructive. The pullback left hand operates, if you will, like a spring-loaded line segment exploiting overextension, and the stance switches resemble small positional gambits in chess that invite, then punish, imprecision.
So yeah, moving on. 3 questions. How did he rise historically? What if Aldo had not withdrawn in 2015? And how have legal issues shaped the late career and brand?
Big question 1. Historically, the rise is a confluence of skill, scheduling, and storytelling. From 2011-2012 dual Cage Warriors titles to a 2013 UFC debut that validated hype. The UFC then invested record promotional budgets, including the Aldo World Tour, and later, the Ultimate Fighter exposure. The Mendes short-notice win framed him as resilient against wrestling pressure. Aldo's 13-second KO delivered a viral proof of concept. Diaz, too, proved he could adjust pacing and leg kick strategy. Alvarez at Madison Square Garden sealed the dual champion thesis. We can infer that the organization's willingness to build events around his persona accelerated the path to mega gates and record PPVs.
I'm curious about the early losses, like the knee bar to Artemy Satenkov and the Joseph Duffy submission. Did those change his technique in a lasting way, or mostly the narrative we tell about him?
It is worth noting that early submission losses tend to exert a clarifying pressure. For McGregor, they coincided with a maturation in distance management, takedown defense emphasis, and a disciplined shot selection that reduced grappling exposure during the decisive phases. To elaborate, he did not become a submission specialist, but he refined entry-exit timings and bodywork that taxed wrestlers over rounds. These are fundamentally adaptations born of practical defeat. Big question 2. The counterfactual regarding Aldo's withdrawal in June 2015. If Aldo had not withdrawn and McGregor had faced prime Aldo that summer and lost, the most probable impact is delay rather than derailment. The promotional architecture, the tour, the Irish fan surge, the Mendes performance, the organization's budget allocation had already established narrative momentum. A loss might have necessitated a rematch arc or a tactical pivot upward to lightweight earlier. Given his market elasticity, the dual champion outcome could still have emerged, albeit on a later timeline. As to the Mayweather crossover, the persona and salesmanship were portable. A 1 or 2 fight detour rarely erases a star of that magnitude. It simply changes the slope of ascent.
From a different angle, could he have leaned into business sooner if that hypothetical loss happened? Like expanding beverages faster, or even moving to promotion through BKFC earlier?
Arguably, yes. The business lane is partially orthogonal to competitive results. Brand velocity can be maintained with media presence, calculated call-outs, and strategic partnerships. We observe he already blended entrepreneurship with active competition. A setback could have shifted the allocation of time, but in this context, the larger commercial machine, social reach, national identity cues, and polarizing rhetoric would still propel product sales and promotional ventures. Big question 3. How have legal issues and public controversies influenced the arc? The record includes the 2017 Bellator cage-side melee, the 2018 Barclays Center bus incident with ensuing charges and civil litigation, the 2019 Miami phone case resolved after settlement, the 2019 pub assault resulting in a guilty plea and fine, repeated driving offenses culminating in a 2-year driving ban and a suspended sentence in 2024, and a series of allegations with mixed legal endpoints. Crucially, in November 2024, the Irish High Court, in a civil proceeding, found that he raped and assaulted a woman, Nikita Hand, in 2018, awarding damages and later legal costs. His subsequent appellate efforts failed, and the Supreme Court declined further appeal in 2025. Corporate reaction was swift, with retailers in Ireland and the UK withdrawing his beverage products, a video game collaboration removed, and brand partners ceasing to feature him. Separately, anti-doping compliance failures in 2024 led to an 18-month whereabouts suspension announced in October 2025. No positive test, but nevertheless ineligibility. Together, these issues interrupted competitive cadence, depressed sponsorship inventory, and constrained public positioning.
Maybe it makes you wonder, what are the implications for future athletes? Are we going to see stricter morality clauses and faster sponsor exits? Or will there be more due process language that slows those reactions?
We can infer 2 converging trends. First, contract architecture already reflects reputational risk through termination and clawback clauses keyed to civil findings, indictments, or even materially adverse publicity. Second, brands now run more aggressive scenario planning, including social media sentiment modeling and contingency shelving with retailers. Leagues and commissions, for their part, emphasize compliance infrastructure, whereabouts filings, education, and sanctions calibrated to non-analytical violations. For researchers, this opens a field at the intersection of sports law, behavioral economics, and crisis communication, studying how different standards of proof, criminal versus civil, map to corporate risk thresholds and public tolerance.
And even when cases are dropped elsewhere, a civil verdict at home can still drive the brand collapse. That asymmetry seems really important for students of policy and business.
Indeed, it is crucial to understand that civil adjudication can activate corporate responses irrespective of criminal outcomes. Moreover, ownership stakes, such as his BKFC position, may hedge visibility but do not immunize against platform gatekeeping by distributors and sponsors. In conclusion on this question, the late career story is as much about governance and reputation as it is about tactics inside a cage. To summarize, McGregor's dual championship milestone and 13-second Aldo knockout redefined what an MMA star could earn and how broadly a persona could travel across sports. We examined his historical ascent, a counterfactual on Aldo's withdrawal, and the open question of legal impacts on brand and scheduling. Further study is warranted on athlete public relations, contractual design, and compliance systems under reputational stress.
So I guess that kind of sums it up. Thank you for listening, and take care.